Greetings programs. Here's a review of the TronDisc.com retractable blade identity disc. This is a review of his latest version of the retractable blade identity disc. And towards the end, I'm going to go ahead and compare it to his Gen 1 retractable blade identity disc that I have. So here's just a basic rundown of the features. First of all, this has a full metal body construction with rigid retractable blades. It has lights and sounds along with motion. There's a clash effect, a fire effect, and a lockup effect. You have the ability to play background music or audio clips that you upload to the disc. You can create custom blade color profiles. You can modify the various sounds that are on there if you want. It has a USB-C charging port right in here where you can connect it to a charger. And it will show the battery charging level on the inner ring in green, segmented down. I think right here it gets like orange, and I haven't got that level, it gets down to red. And you can see that by just giving it a quick twist while it's plugged into a charger. It'll briefly show the charging level. Using that USB-C port, you can connect it to a PC to change settings like max volume or upload files. I recommend setting a max volume in the 50 to 70 range. 100, which it comes as from TronDisc.com, is very loud, and I would be afraid that prolonged use could blow the speakers, especially with the depending on what type of sound fonts you put on there and that. It also has several other different extra modes for fun or display. It has a clock mode where the blades will come out, and there'll be a LED for hours, minutes, and then seconds that goes around. You do have to set the time using a PC in the basic config file. There's a graphic equalizer mode that will play different color patterns depending on the sounds it hears. And then there's also an audio player that you can play music tracks directly from the disc. There comes with some already uploaded. You can add your own. Besides that, it also has Wi-Fi for a web interface to control the disc, and you can also connect it to Bluetooth speakers for sound output. However, I'm not going to go into those features in this video. So let's get into the disc itself. First of all, I'm going to show you the sides of the disc are held on with magnets. So to get that, you can pull off, just kind of pull. And you can see this is the main component you take off, which has the two batteries, the plus and minus indicators. If you wanted to, for whatever reason, you could take off the other side of the disc. And this kind of gets you a view a little bit of the circuit board and control board, motor, batteries, chips, and that. This side of the board, though, is not one that you really need to ever open necessarily for any reason under normal use. Go ahead and put it back on. You'll see a couple notches. One lines up for the button, one lines up for the USB port. Back on. And I'm going to go ahead and briefly on the batteries. These are 18650. I will put a link to the batteries. Initially, I just used a couple other 18650 lightsaber batteries, some cheap batteries I had. I think I ran into issues with lockups and other problems. Talking to the disc maker, he said that he recommends 10 amp or better discharge rate batteries. So these are a couple Panasonics. Didn't cost that much, but since I put them in, I haven't had that same issue. So it was correct that a lower quality battery without a 10 amp or higher discharge rate could lead into functionality issues. Go ahead and slip this back on here. Make sure that's all clipped in. It is. The blade mechanisms, it's pretty neat here. He has basically a little motor that I showed you on the inside. Has a little flywheel that when you twist it, the motor has a flywheel spins on the teeth, the inner ring, which then takes, as it rotates, it pushes out the corner blade things and gets the other blades and kind of expands it. And then when you close it, the motor reverses, the ring rotates the other way and retracts everything back in. Pretty ingenious mechanism there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the disc on and just show you some of the various modes on here. So when you have the batteries in, if it's completely asleep, you press and hold this button till it turns on. Might take 5 to 10 seconds. If it's in a soft sleep mode, you press it for a couple seconds and it should wake up. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. You saw it play the startup sound while the inner ring came up. I do know that the manufacturer said that startup sound and startup mode will go as long as the WAV file that you have on there for startup. So if you put a longer one, it'll take longer, a shorter one, and you can get it to go faster. It has a nice idle swing, so when you pick it up, you're going to get your swing. Nice smooth swing here. Faster you swing it, it gives more acceleration. And then ramps down. Okay. It also has a fire effect. So if you press and hold the button with the blades in, it'll do a fire effect. And you can see that nice fire effect goes around the whole blade. Release. Now to extend the blades, you take the disc, you're going to take it and give it a quick, just rotate of the wrist, quick motion that will engage the blades. I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can see now we got the blades out. You got a static inner ring, and then you have the nice rotation of the outer rings. Got your smooth swing. The more you move it, the higher the pitch, quicker it sounds. It does have a clash effect. And then a lock-up effect. Lock-up effect, you just press and hold the button. On there. Now if you press the button once, if there's an audio file loaded in the folder, it will play the audio file. And you're playing a song. Press it again. Shut the audio off. To retract the blades, you give it a double press. And that'll put it back into retracted mode. I believe if you press this button 3 times with the blades in, it will put it into kind of a display mode. Maybe for a cosplay, you put it on your back, it won't make any noise, nothing will extend. I think you have to do 3 presses again to do that. Now the disc does come with 4 preset colors on here. Sam Flynn, Rinzler, Clu, and Kevin Flynn. I've added several more via my computer. I've also modified the default colors of the Rinzler and Clu color presets as I felt they were not quite as accurate to the films as I would like. And then I also added my own color presets and also for them. I'll go ahead and put the color presets I did for Rinzler and Clu in the comments. Also, I feel that the color temp or profile of the LEDs can tend to make colors look a little different than you expect. So if you're choosing colors using a online RGB color picker, white seems to have a little bit of a bluish hue, yellow has a green tint, and orange seems more yellow than orange. So I'm not sure how he has the LEDs tweaked, but it might be set to a cooler color temp instead of a warm color temp. So depending on what your preferences are, it may not look entirely the way it does on your computer screen when you're setting your colors in the color profile on there. Let's go ahead and show the colors. I will mention I added my own custom colors already, and I also took some sound clips and added them. So when it switches the colors, it will play a custom sound clip telling me which color or character I've selected. So to do that, with the disc in retracted mode, give a double press of the button.
Select mode.
Now you're in the mode selector. Give it a twist.
Clock. Standard colors.
So you get to standard colors. Press the button once.
Rinzler.
So now we're on the Rinzler preset. Give it a flick.
Kevin Flynn. Clu.
I've got a little challenge for you, Stark. A new recruit.
Green, indigo, magenta, purple, yellow. Sam Flynn.
Then when you get the color you want, press the button once.
Set.
It'll set that color. And now you're configured for that color. The graphic equalizer mode, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a double press to get to the modes.
Select mode. Graphic equalizer mode.
Press the button once.
Graphic equalizer mode.
And you can see as you talk and more things happen, it'll pick up the audio and do that. I don't have any music playing. I think if you press it once, it switches to a different graphic equalizer mode. Press it again, double tap to get back to the main idle menu there. Then it has a clock and, like I said, an audio player on there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and dim the lights a little bit, get a better look at the colors on here, so you can have a better idea what it might look like. In the lower lights. So I have this on Sam Flynn. Look at that. Nice bright colors here. Let's go ahead and extend it. Let's do the fire effect. Really nice. Turn on some music.
Can you play doubles on the same team?
We're always on the same team.
So when it's idle like this, if you have a sound clip in the sound font folder on the disk, when you press the button once, it'll play that clip. Let's go ahead and extend the disk. Give it a quick flick. Look at there. Okay, let's flip to the different colors.
Select mode. Audio player. Clock. Standard colors. Rinzler.
There's Rinzler.
Kevin Flynn. Clu.
I am the perfect weapon.
Ancora!
I fight for the users. I've got a little challenge for you, Sark. A new recruit.
Green, indigo, magenta, purple, yellow. Sam Flynn. Rinzler.
We'll choose Rinzler.
Set.
Let's press the button once, see if there's an audio clip. Extend the disk. Put that down there. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to quickly show you a comparison between the Gen 1 and Gen 2 disk. So this is the Gen 2 disk. Set that off to the side. Here is the Gen 1 identity disk. So a couple things to compare. First of all is the finish. You look at the disk here, you can kind of see the grooves and the lines are pretty faint. See right there, it's not really, that well done there. It's accurate, looks good, but the Gen 2 disk just looks a little better. You did a much better job getting that contrast between the gloss and the matte. Just looks a little more authentic. Now also, comparison, Gen 1 and Gen 2 disk, hard to tell here. Thickness, the Gen 2 disk is a little thicker. That's due to a design change he made. He went to, instead of, this disk has a single PCB. All the equipment is mounted to the PCB, and then there's just a shell that covers it. Kind of crammed. The Gen 2 disk, he went to a stacked PCB where there's a PCB board on the top, PCB board on the bottom. One board controls and contains pretty much all the brains of the system, and then the other board has basically just the motor and the blade mechanism on it. There. The Gen 2 disk is louder, and it's better. It's due to a better speaker setup. See, this both of them, and I actually thought that this one had 2 speakers and this one only had 1, but I was actually wrong. when I looked at it closely. He has two speakers, but they're both mounted right to each other, both facing out, back to back. And so all the sound would come from this one location, and it made it sound quieter. This one has two speakers, one like one side, one on the other. Gives a fuller sound. There's a little more room because of the stacked board for the audio to travel. And so this one has just a fuller, richer sound. The Gen 1 disc, though, seems to have a little more reliable of a motor mechanism. When looking kind of how the motor mechanism is, it's more complicated, but a little more robust and a little faster. This one I can see where he did that to maybe save a little bit of engineering costs. It still works, but it just, either the timing he changed or because of the change in design, the blade doesn't retract quite as fast as the other one. The Gen 1 disc has different sounds. We'll go ahead and turn it on, and you can kind of hear the difference in the different sounds. The Gen 2 disc is more updated and has better sounds, what I would say here. So I'll turn this on. So let's listen to the idle swing noise. It's good. You can hear it doesn't quite sound like the movie, and it doesn't have a good acceleration. Let's compare. You can hear that ramp down, where this one just has kind of it's on or off. You hear it cut off. Fire effect, it only goes around half the blade there. Fire effect here, it goes around the whole blade. Now we're going to go ahead and extend the disc. You can see it's a little faster. I think the blades come out much quicker, gives the better illusion that it's just appearing out of the disc. There, one here. Yeah, the button, that is one thing. He did improve the button quite a bit. The button got stuck. He just has a little button that's kind of sandwiched here. So let's do this again. There we go. Hear the swinging noise. Versus a little more accurate. Keep in mind, this one is at 100 volume, this one is at 70, so it might be why it sounds a little quieter. I just put the batteries back in it, and it defaults back to 100. There's no USB where you can plug it in to a computer. You have to program it, either leave the default or you have to connect it to a Wi-Fi app that's kind of flaky on there. Gen 1 disc only came with 4 color presets: Sam Flynn, Rinzler, Clu, Kevin Flynn, and Abraxas. And that would actually be 5 presets, where the Gen 2 disc came with the 4. But this one has the ability to add as many presets as you want. I think I have like 10. I'm not sure what the limit is. This one, you're stuck with the built-in presets, and you can make one custom color, which as soon as you switch to another preset, that custom color is gone, and you have to use the Wi-Fi app to reprogram it. So all in all, I like the Gen 1 disc, happy with it, but the features that he added to the Gen 2 disc just make it that much more of an upgrade, and it really isn't a cost difference. Price that this one costs is the same one the Gen 2 costs, even with the extra features on there. Now, a couple issues. I'm going to go ahead and shut this off. See, that button is tricky. 1, 2.
Select mode.
Press and hold. Release. Off. Okay. Get that out of the way. Go ahead and double press the button.
Select mode.
When you're in select mode, long press and release will shut the blade. Basically now it's in sleep mode on here. So a couple issues I had. I had a couple of bolts that did not have enough glue in them and came out. Let me see if I can actually show you those bolts. So there's these bolts here that kind of keep the blade mechanism That's kind of a guide for the blade as it pops out. Bolt here and bolt here both fell out. Fortunately, they were still in the disc. They're glued in, but they just didn't put enough glue, so I just had to super glue these back in, and I haven't had any issues since. One of the nuts on the inner ring, you might be able to see right in here. There's some nuts.
Just activated and synchronized. Proceed to games.
And on my disc, one of those nuts came unthreaded and fell off.
Select mode.
So I had to just tighten that back down, finger tight, a little bit of pliers, no big deal. Another issue I had is my motor kept seizing. I thought it was the motor itself. In fact, I took the board apart, taking these screws out and then taking the sandwich board off. And I actually took the motor off, thinking the motor was the problem. And I broke some of the small wires that solder the motor to the board and had to basically resolder those wires on. Long story short, come to find out that the problem was actually a spring pin. So the two boards sandwiched together and they're spring pins, 3 by this battery, 3 by this battery, that connect the power from the top board to the bottom board. One of those pins was jammed and just not quite making complete contact. Tried to fix it, ended up ripping the pin completely off the board and had to do some wiring work to fix it. Contacted the maker of the disc, SK, and he graciously did a video call with me, walked me through making sure I knew where to connect the wires to basically circumvent that damaged pin that I broke off. Got my disc back up in working order. However, due to all that rigmarole, taking the motor out, putting it back in, resoldering wires, I just couldn't quite get the motor mount as tight as it needed to be, and the motor would shift a little bit every time it expanded and contracted on the start and stop. So I ended up having to use some hot glue to kind of wedge that motor into place so it didn't move anymore. But since I've done that, I haven't had any more issues. As I mentioned earlier, I did have the disc crash and reboot several times, but come to find out that it was due to having lower quality batteries. Once I got the proper quality batteries, haven't had any issues since. Like I said, you want to get some that have at least a 10 amp discharge rating and make sure you use 2 of them on there. Final thoughts. I like it. There's nothing else really like it out on the market. You want a replica disc, you're going to get either a 3D printed one off Etsy, you're going to have to go find the old Spin Master disc, or you're going to end up with a Disney disc that you got to get from either eBay resellers or go down to Disney yourself and buy it from the Tron Legacy Ride shop. That disc down there won't light up nearly as well. It's going to be plastic. You have to buy different chips to get different sounds. It only, I think, lights on one side. And by the time you buy all the different sound chips, you're going to spend pretty much as you would for this disc. This is going to run you around $450 for the full metal version, which will come with a metal magnetic mount, which I don't have down here because it's currently screwed in upstairs where I have it mounted so it doesn't fall off the shelf, and I didn't want to take it off and bring it back down. But you can see the mount on his website. So would I recommend? For me, I recommend it. Works well. It's the best, really the best replica Tron disc you can find with the best features. But I do want to say I recommend it only under the following conditions. One, can you afford to part with $450? If you can, then go ahead. And are you okay with having to use PayPal protection? Even says it on the trondisc.com website. You know, use PayPal to pay for it. You have 180 days for your PayPal protection. That if during the 180 days you feel either his communication isn't very well, you're concerned that you're not going to get your disc before that time expires, or you just have some other issue, go ahead and do that. File that, get your refund, move on with your life. And number 3, can you deal with missed deadlines? My Gen 1 disc took about 9 months for me to get. I several times was concerned I was being ripped off or scammed. His communication, just his time, he just isn't good with deadlines. I don't know why, but he'll contact you, say he'll give you an update in a couple days. A week goes by, and you don't get the update. Not really sure the reason behind that. Second disc, I got much quicker. Then my first disc came in only a few months. And I said, you're adults. Hopefully, if you got $450 to burn on basically a toy, a high-end replica toy, but a toy nonetheless, or collector's item, you're more than likely an adult. So be an adult and make an adult decision. If it doesn't feel comfortable to you, if you don't feel like you trust the buyer, if something just doesn't sit right, use your 180-day PayPal protection, get your refund, move on, or don't even buy the disc in the first place. But if you want the best Tron disc that you can get, the only thing like it on the market, I highly recommend you get it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And that's pretty much it. I hope you've liked watching. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comments section. I'll happily answer anything I can. Maybe I'll try to do a future video either showing off the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, or maybe showing programming on the PC and different settings on there. But thank you for watching. End of line.